Hello, thanks for joining me. On today's video, what I want to talk about is the importance of having a will and or trust. And in general terms, what these documents do is they ensure that your assets pass on to who you want, when you want, and how you want. Because if you don't have a document like this, then you pass away in what's called intestate. And if you do, then what happens is the courts make these decisions for you. And let's face it, they might pass on your assets to somebody who wasn't your first choice, or maybe somebody who shouldn't have been there at all. All right. So you lose all control. So that's why it's important to have these things set up. But in addition to helping you pass on your assets to who you want, when you want, and how you want, there's other very important aspects that these documents do. For instance, they grant what are called powers of attorney. And these powers of attorney can be assigned to a trusted person who you trust. And some of these powers are, for instance, a medical power of attorney. And what that means is, in the event that you don't have the ability to make medical decisions for yourself, well, then this person does. In addition to that, there's also directives to physicians. And what that means is that let's just say you're in a coma or a state where the outlook is really grim, and you decide on how you want the doctors to proceed, and you make this decision beforehand. So you can tell them, look, if I'm in that kind of state and it's pretty much I'm not going to be making it, or I'm going to be in a coma forever or whatever, you can tell the doctors, go ahead and just give me the drugs or the care that I need to give me comfort and let me just pass away. Or you can say, hey, no, I want you to use all the medical technology and skills and tools and medicines that are available to keep me alive for as long as you can. But the important thing is that you make that decision and you make it ahead of time. So therefore, you're not thrusting that decision on a loved one, which could put that person in a really bad position if you think about it. Think about the emotional stress and all that. So you take that load off their shoulders with a directive. Okay. The other thing that's another power that's included is called the financial power of attorney. And what that does is that allows people to make financial decisions on your behalf, once again, if you're unable to. So therefore, if you have financial transactions that need to continue or happen, they're not just held up because you're not able to do it. A very other important thing about these documents is that it also allows you to set up, if you have minor children, it allows you to set up guardianships. And therefore, you choose who you want your children to be raised by. Okay. And so if you're not around anymore, your children would be raised by people who you trust and love. In addition to that, at the same time of creating the guardianship, it'll also set up a trust for that minor child. Because if your child is under 18, they cannot receive all the assets from your estate. In other words, if you have, your house, if you all your bank accounts, any kind of retirement accounts, just think about life insurance, all that, they can't take it, they can't receive it. So it has to go into an account for them, and they don't have access to it until they're 18. So what this allows you to do is to set up a trust for their benefit, so that way they have access to those funds in there. And so therefore, you're not putting a financial burden on the guardian, okay? Because that guardian can use those funds to help raise your child during their minority. But in addition to that trust, then it also establishes, or you would establish, a trustee, a person who would have control over those assets within that trust to make those distributions to your minor child. They can be one and the same person, or you can make it two different people, whatever you're more comfortable with. So some of the considerations that you need to think about when you're going through this process is, ask yourself, who is it that I'm going to select, number one, that I would want to entrust to be my executor or my representative of my estate when I'm gone and transact all that business for me. Also, who do I want to entrust or trust to be the guardian of my child or children if I'm no longer here? And who do I want to trust to make financial decisions if I'm unable to? And who do I want to give the responsibility to make medical decisions for me if I'm unable to? Those are some, time things that you need to really sit down and think about pretty deeply. But once you have all that down, then the next step is to actually create a will or a trust. Now, there's a lot of sites you can go to online, and a lot of resources that can help you draft one on your own. But what I always recommend to my clients is get it done through an attorney, get it done through a professional, because that's their level of expertise. And it just makes sense to get it done right, because you don't want to find out that it was done wrong after you're gone, because then it's too late. So you want to get it done right the first time. Trust a professional to do that. So I hope this video has helped you. Feel welcome to reach out to me if you have any other questions. Also, please remember to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and click on notifications. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining me.